addicted, danger illustrated. I'm a fire starter, twisted fire starter. I'm a fire starter, twisted fire starter. I'm a fire starter, twisted fire starter. Bitch, you hated, infatuated. Yeah. On the plate you tasted, well intoxicated. I'm a fire starter, twisted fire starter. You're a fire starter, twisted fire starter.
This is not a toothpaste, it's a revolution for your teeth. Remineralize, strengthen teeth, all natural ingredients, essential oils, minerals, salts, Alpha Vedic Dental Solutions System. That's alphavedic.com/civilization. You know, we're always trying to bring you the best products here that we think will enhance your life, especially if supply chains break down further, or if there's some disruption in our lives here. It seems in the news more and more possible, but hey, who knows? Maybe it's a mind game. But what is not is keeping your dental health up. And not a lot of people are talking about this. We always see the storable foods. But what about dental care during these same emergency situations? Will your toothpaste eventually run out? Well, if it does, then what? So like I say, this whole micro gut biome is driven by your oral cavity first. So take a look at what they have, alphavedic.com/civilization. Every purchase you make helps keep our live radio show and podcast on air, bringing you more information just like this. alphavedic.com/civilization. That link is in the show notes below. And as always, I appreciate your valuable time and joining us in this ever and most important conversation as we move forward in our world. Hey everyone, are you ready to grow your own fresh, delicious vegetables, herbs, and flowers this season? If you're looking for the highest quality heirloom and organic seeds, I've got the perfect company for you, True Leaf Market. They've been a trusted seed company since 1974, offering 3,000 types of non-GMO varieties, everything from classic heirloom tomatoes and peppers to rare herbs, microgreens, sprouting seeds, and beautiful flowers. All their seeds are open-pollinated, pure, and perfect for home gardeners or anyone wanting healthy, flavorful produce without chemicals. What I love the most is their huge selection, fast shipping guarantees, plus options for bulk if you're going big. If you're excited to start your garden this year with real, authentic heirloom and organic seeds, click the link in the description box below to check out TrueLeafMarket.com. You won't regret it. Happy planting, and thank you for supporting the channel and this broadcast.
Please remember to sign up for our show notes. With Civilization Cycle podcast, you can learn what to expect as society resets. Agriculture, economy, tech, and history all have mappable cycles, and these cycles affect every aspect of our lives. We can navigate the chaos and thrive together with up-to-date news and information. Also, if you like the content we have here on Civilization Cycle, think about fueling the discussions and the show by buying us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Civilization Cycle. And thank you for all the support.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are on this beautiful blue planet. We are running at this from two different directions tonight. First and foremost, one world currency has started this year. It's planned to roll out in the, July 17th era. There's going to be a soft launch with DTCC. And then also with the Bank for International Settlements, and they're kind of soft launching until they can scale to operations in October of 2026. At that point, the one world currency that we've all heard about is going to be on. It's not going to be a currency as in a single unit of payment. It's the system that allows every unit of payment to be under one system and moved around the planet in real time. Also, Ransom, you got some slides for us tonight. I forget which state it was. I'd seen the article real quick. I've been perusing through the news, been a little kind of chaotic and hectic this last week. They're going to forbid hunting and fishing in one of the states in America. So if that were to happen, then you got to think they're purposely reducing the food supply. California, they're making farmers cut down nearly 1 million peach trees because they're not going to be able to package them. The packaging facility is going out of business or whatever. It's forced closed because of some measure. And that means that these farmers, they're not going to have anywhere to pack. So they're going to be cutting down nearly 1 million peach trees. Where down in Georgia, where they grow peaches, just one state down here from Tennessee, the data center usage of electricity and forced through eminent domain to take over lands that's just in the way of the power lines, just in the periphery of, hey, they need these extra 100 acres, but they won't sell. These people's having their land stolen for data centers, eminent domain. So we've seen this happen a few times. Cost of living is going absolutely insane at the moment. And by all correct measures, the inflation wave from the Hormuz crisis is going to begin hitting here in America in July also. We haven't really seen the inflationary push yet. You might think, oh, everything's getting more expensive. We're seeing it. We really haven't yet. June is going to be the ramp up period when these prices start to move up. July, it's really going to square, start to hit center. Expect $6 plus gasoline. As I was looking at the strategic oil reserves, they pulled the most they ever pulled this last couple of days, and it's taken us to near, low bottoms, when the lowest of the lows when Joe Biden was in office. We're nearly back at that low level again. Nothing's really coming in to refill that. So looking out a couple more months into midsummer, and Ransom, thank you for pulling up that article. You know more about it than I do. My end of the thing is following this tokenization, one world currency system that's beginning right now. So you're going to have to get ready for that. They're going to tokenize all of our assets, including your home, your car, anything of value, and digitally represent it to be moved across as a liquidity pool from America through the DTCC. So we'll go through all this tonight. But Ransom, I saw you had that article up there. I'd like to start with the food first, if we could, because this is, how can a state tell you on your land you're not even allowed to hunt or fish on your own land? I mean, that's my property. You're telling me I can't fish on that? Come on, get away.
Right. And we kind of predicted that they were going to start trying to do things like this. So
you knew they were. We talked about this before. They're going to try to stop food in any way, shape, or form to get you into that cattle chute of digital ID and rationing.
Yeah. And I think it's not just going to be one state. They're going to keep pushing for this. There's going to be smaller and smaller time periods, places, and, situation where you're allowed to hunt. I mean, just think about how the Brits do it, where, they're allowed to hunt, but they got like a gun, but they got to go talk to some guy to get it for them. And I'm sure soon that's going to end. And then when you think about Australia, you see those videos of truckloads of guns that they're burning and destroying and stuff. That's really what it is. I think it is about the food, because you think about, you have this basically a tick attack from the East Coast headed west. And then on the West Coast, they're going to go down the Maoist state doctrine, basically, in California, Washington, and Oregon. I mean, we've been seeing it for decades now, but they're going to increase. They want to keep telling you stuff like, your water belongs to them, that comes out of the sky, the air you breathe. We need that air to cool the data center over here. And matter of fact, we don't want you guys poking around with your guns out there looking for animals around our data centers. No, I'm kind of kidding on that last part.
No,
but
a stray round going into a data center might disrupt something, I mean, I don't know what kind of walls they have there, but imagine some hunters with 30-06 or 308 or 30-30 something, going for a deer, missing, and that thing clips into a data center. I'm sure it would hit something in there and disrupt it, and then, something's out. But I mean, you're looking at 44,000, square,
Right.
whatever,
somebody just took out the moon program.
Yeah, right. That
On
one
accident.
particular little server box was the one that held the code for the Bank for International Settlements, Switzerland settlement or something, right?
That was all the election files.
That was all the election. Yeah, what darn it. That one, those hunters, they're responsible for the disruption.
Right. So I got all these slides you sent me set up. And you think about, like, just moving right into it, from banning hunting and fishing, the concept of that's eliminating one entire avenue of human existence, where we've traditionally got food, had food, or were able to survive without any system, especially like folks in Alaska right now. There's no, how are they going to, sell these ideas to these people where you can't hunt and you can't fish, and you got to have this digital, currency to even interact with anything, when they're out there trying to hunt an elk or something, just to survive the winter.
Spears, man, we got to go back old school like they did during the Clovis period. If it works, we can use catapults and spears and stuff like they did in the 1400s. I'm just going to rewind the clock back. You got to have like a bag of rocks that falls out of a tree and smashes a moose on the head, and you can catch that thing, right? Like we can use all kind of rocks, sticks, spears, whatever. We got to go old school if we're going to survive in the future here.
Well, that's if you paid the sheriff the rock tax to be able to use the rock in that fashion.
I forgot the rock tax. The shiny rocks, you need to pay 1 cent per rock every time you use it on the blockchain. Every rock is on the blockchain, accounted for. Like this whole ownership thing is going to be a thing of the past. And when I say that, I'm not even lightly saying this at all. This concept that we grew up with of like private ownership is ending pretty much this year. And when I say that, I want to try to, frame this in. We've been brought up hearing one world currency, and we're all looking for this one world currency. And it's been on everybody's radar. The one world currency, we've all been looking for it. What's it going to be? Which one? What's the one? Is everybody's saying it was the dollar, and then they were saying it was a special drawing rights reserve thing from the World Bank or whatever. It's not. They've given us a false direction to go down. How these two go together, the data centers are required for the build out of this system of the one world currency. It's not a one world currency, it's a one world operational system.
Right.
That allows everything in the world with a value to be swapped. So there is no more individual currencies, quote unquote, because everything on the tokenized market is now equal to everything else. So it's literally one world currency inside the system. The only thing is you won't own anything because it'll be tokenized and it will be on a blockchain ledger. And the Bank for International Settlements, their CBDCs are all going to be private ledger, probably like R3 or something, going to be running those. But for so far with the DTCC, Stellar Lumens has been, and Ransom, if you could do me the hugest favor, maybe I'll do it myself. You remember that old magazine cover where it said one world currency in the Economist magazine? Remember that old cover from back in the day? And then pull up Stellar Lumens, just like put in a search engine, Stellar Lumens, and then pull up the logo for Stellar Lumens and put those together. And there is the cover and which token it was. It's now out here for us to see. So this project, Agora, is, they say, in the test phase, but it's been going on for testing for 3 years already. So you got to realize that they were saying that they were at the operational testing level 3 years ago for this. And it was under everybody's rug because all the documents they were putting out was like, oh, it's a probability, we possibly could. So what are you looking at here with this slide? Okay, there you go. Now, can you pull up Stellar Lumens also and look at the logo? You're looking for that circle with the one line through it, and that is Stellar Lumens. That is absolutely Stellar Lumens. And it's so interesting because all the tokenized treasuries, the bonds, everything that's on the stock market, all the retirement funds, the money market funds, real estate, anything that has value that runs through a clearinghouse, commodities out of Chicago, all of this is going to be running through Stellar Lumens and XRP. And this comes from the DTCC's, that's Deposit Trust Clearing Corporation's own documents as of a couple days ago. They came out and told you which tokens they were going to use. That's why Stellar Lumens has gone up like 40% in the last day or two. It's not a one world currency. It's a one world system that allows anything of value to have and be a currency, swappable, movable across the planet anywhere at any time. There you go. There's Stellar Lumens. And then if you flip back, you can clearly see, and the only difference is there's one extra line in it. It's the exact same thing. Right there's your Stellar Lumens. It is on the token. And everybody was wondering what it was. We couldn't figure out, was like Alpha Coin or was it something? Oh, great. Yeah, just like you did overlaying those. That was perfect. Yeah. So the coin has now been chosen. And they're coming out and showing you that what was once fact or fiction, whatever you like to term that as, is now realized. And those who were forecasting this before proven correct again. So Agora, now each one of these that you see down there, this is a different central bank across the planet. So the blue one, which I put our country with, DTCC, that's our American anything financial. The quadrillions of derivatives, that's all tokenized. Any stocks, those are tokenized now. They're going to be, it starts next month. So these quadrillions of dollars in America, they're their own pool. They're like their own little pond right here. And then we go through and we got Japan, and we got the European Central Bank, and we got Switzerland. All right, so each one of those colors represents a different pool of money from a country, and that's their stock markets. And that's their real estate for everybody in the country. And that's all the bank accounts, and that's all the retirement funds for the entire country. And they call it jurisdictional ledgers. So it just means an individual pool of a country's total value of anything that you could put a value to. And we're talking quadrillions of dollars, not even trillions. 1,000 trillions is a quadrillion. And they're talking something like $6 quadrillion going onto this system. So these pools, they were all separated before. Like American money, well, it was hard to swap over into Europe. The time changes. The banks weren't, you then have to cross in and get on the SWIFT system and then, trade it from $1 into a pound and then bring it in the pound system 2 or 3 days later. And there was these big lags in that. What the BIS has done is now coordinated everybody into one giant global pool where all global tokens swap at the same level in atomic settlements. Every single currency that you see on the list of the bigs, like the EU, the European Central Bank, so you go euros, British pounds, Swiss francs, American dollars, Japanese yen, Chinese yen, they're all in on this system. So what that means is there's no more I have to wait for anything. It swaps over really in less than 1 second across the entire planet. So if there's ever a banking crisis, they can put up a bunch of liquidity or collateral on that to stop some sort of bank run, financial contagion. The only problem is the reason I was doing all these videos was they started to pledge our grains now as tokens. So Ransom, I sent you a couple things with the Just token there. And they call them tokenized deposits. So once it gets into the system, it has a certain value into it. So you're looking for that one chart that was just like a stock chart that had all the colors in it. And 1 ton of grain equals, and go back one more, I think it's not either of those. That's the total tokenized commodity. One back, yeah, right there. There's a company called Just Token. I never even heard of them until I started doing the research a few days ago. It's the 3rd largest already for tokenizing grains on the planet. So their tokens that they issue is 1 ton of grain equals 1 token. And you can see them listed on the right side. They have JSOY, which is 1 ton of soybeans, equals 1 token. And they have J soy oil, which is 1 ton of soybean oil equals 1 token. And then they have J corn, which is 1 ton of corn equals 1 token. All right, but look at that. They already have $2.84 billion worth of these tokens issued already. So the farmers come in and they pledge it, and it goes in all these grain silos across Brazil, and then they're issued a token, and these farmers in Brazil can then go get loans for whatever, if they need seed or if they need machinery, because these tokens are now in Brazil swapping around, and they're all good in all the banks, and any institution will take out, so the farmers can get instant money to run their farms. The problem is, if there's a real banking contagion in Brazil, they are going to push these grain tokens against that to try to stop bank runs. And what happens? Well, I'm a foreigner and your bank collapses. I take all your tokens. It's in a smart contract. So I own the grain of your country now. Give it to me. I don't care if your people are starving. That's my tokens. That's my grain. We have lost control of the grain supply in our nations that go to the system. That's the dangerous part. You having your house tokenized and you're losing your house, okay, that's one thing. But if you're taking and tokenizing all the grain harvest of a nation and somebody else controls that legally through smart contracts, the only way to stop it is really blow up the rail lines where that grain doesn't move down the tracks. Otherwise, it's outbound out of your country. Whoever owns those tokens owns the grain supply, and they are going to take it out. You got to be kidding me if you think there's any caring of anything. Oh, care about humanity. I'm going to lose hundreds of millions if we don't get that grain to market because I own those tokens. Forget those people. They'll starve. I don't care. They're pledging everything that we own on the new system of tribute. This is where we sit today. And it's just begun. Now they're talking about $30 trillion. Now put this in perspective for a minute. We're at about 360 billion today. They say that in this system we'll be at 30 trillion by 2030. So that is an 89 times increase in the next 4 years. And you got it right there, just-in-time collateral. This is what it's all about. So since the money can move in literally a second, the token, whatever value it has, okay, your house, it's a $250,000 token or a $500,000 token or whatever your house is worth. It's worth $500,000 on the token. Okay, well, this bank is going to collapse over there. They need $400 million. Well, they're going to wrap up 800 of those $500,000 tokens and put it into the bank over there. But if the bank still collapses, all that collateral was pledged into the bank, so those tokens get swept into the clearing of that bank and the restructuring, so you lose your house. Who owns it, though? This is where just-in-time collateral, real-time, distributed ledger, and now all DLTT, the Clearing Corporation for America's financial system, they have patents for it's called digital liquidity tokens, which allows you to swap over between all of the different blockchains. Because right now, again, those are their own islands of liquidity. So Stellar Lumens is different from XRP, and XRP is different from Avalanche, and Avalanche is different from Chainlink, and Chainlink's different from Ondo. All right, so those are all their own little islands of money laying around out here. What this allows you to do is cross between every single island in real time. And then because those are all crossed between all the islands and all the monies are now in one big pool accessible through anything, then it all goes into one big giant pond, which is controlled by the US's jurisdictional ledger, which then can be pledged up into the Bank for International Settlements global ledger. So it's a top-down approach where and they were talking no shit about pennies, because the copper value of the pennies, they were going to tokenize pennies into a pound of copper. So even the individual pennies that you have in your change jar, yeah, and Ransom, that green slide you just pulled up there, yeah, right there, it's called the Great Collateral Experiment. They're going to tokenize pennies and wrap them into a pound of copper. That's how deep down this layer goes. And that will also be allowed to move in real time. And see, that's the whole thing. Now, here's the kicker. The reason that our economy is failing right now is because we are in an old system, 70 years old, but we're in a new time now where things are moving lightning fast. So the two systems broke and they don't connect anymore. So what they're trying to say is, if it takes 2 days for me to make $1 billion go to the right place and then go into the bank over there and everything's clear and we're happy and it's okay, good deposit, that 2 days is wasted time of $1 billion being able to be used outside somewhere else. So this new system will free that up within 5 or 10 seconds. That $1 billion can be used again. They're trying to move the velocity of money literally from days into seconds. And by doing this, they believe they can save the global economy right now from total, absolute collapse. And this is what they're trying to do. The collateral mean reduce trade exposures and lower risk. So the cash and collateral is everything we own in America, our grain crops, our waters, supply, the homes, the real estate, automobiles, trucks, any companies, bank loans, your retirement, any kind of accounts that you might have that are 401ks, that's all in on this system. Every stock, every bond, everything that has value is being tokenized into this new system. All of it. And so will Canada. And so is Mexico. And so is every country in Europe. So you start to realize that the tokenization of all this is going to take a couple years. They're starting with the easiest stuff, like the stocks and the bonds that they can control right at the seed point of it going out every day and being bought and sold on the stock market. The commodities chart you had there, the yellow one, is really interesting because that's how fast the commodities are, this tokenized asset portion of commodities. It went from literally almost zero to 7.1 billion in like less than a year. So this was the test bed of it all. They started with gold and grain, the two things that make our world go round for history, gold and food, and those are the first things tokenized. So if this went from 0 to 7 billion in like a year, and they plan to take it 89 times higher in the next 4 years, what do you think the valuation of 89 times 7 multiplied by billions is going to be? This is just the beginning of the system. You're going to have to interact with this system, and this is where the scary part of the one world governance system comes in. Everything of value is going to be pooled into a nation's total value, and everything of that value can be moved at any time in real time from that nation's jurisdiction ledger. And the money's just going to move around the planet in real time. Everything's going to be tokenized, and you will really own nothing. It will all be through a central voucher on a ledger that you don't control. Your bank will have pledged your property into this and tokenized it, whether you want it or not. So you no longer own that asset. It is tokenized, and if it's out on the world free market, somebody else owns it. And the whole thing is, can they come in and evict you, or can they stop our grain supplies from leaving the country? If these tokens for real estate or for grain tokens are actually used as collateral for some kind of debt problem, and then that debt still implodes in on itself. Who controls that? Can somebody come and evict you from your house and say, I own the token to your house, get out? We're bulldozing everything here, we're putting a new data center in. Like, you will really have no rights to any of your property, your cars, even like the cars that are paid off. Those are the lowest hanging fruit because they have actual liquidity in them. There's actual value in that car with no debt behind it. So that car is the paid off cars, paid off property are the first things they're trying to swoop on the system. Think about the equity in that. 100% equity, no liability, fully paid off. And this is the system that we're moving to. And again, it starts in July of this year. They did, the soft launch is really starting in June, like June 17th or 13th, somewhere around there. And then they're going to slowly move to the hard soft launch in July. And then they're going to scale it from July. And then the full operational capacity of this thing goes live in October of this year. October. So then what happens is, United States starts to bring in everything in tokens on our stock markets, the bonds, the real estate. All right, that'll take a few months. Canada's going to do the same. Mexico, the European Union, Australia, everybody, all the G7 nations and everything, G20 actually. Once they start to pool everything, then the Bank for International Settlements comes in with their test rails, which they've already been testing for years, plural. They're going to flip a switch, and everything across that same layer will be tradable. And nobody will own anything. You will really own nothing. Somebody else will own everything that you own because it'll be in a different country pledged for something on a short-term debt or overnight loan or what the hell ever. This is the scariest thing. And then thank you for bringing that up. What do you think about that? Sorry to ramble, but
I was just wondering how many tokens I get for a $250 piece.
That's $100, Dan.
Yeah, no, this is funny because this is coming out in June too, or they're showing the. It looks like funny money. It's kind of.
It looks fake, doesn't it?
Yeah, but supposedly for our 250th anniversary of being a free country, we're gonna get a $250 bill worth, like $50 or maybe 100. Maybe
spend $100 on grocery. I gotta spend $100 on $20 worth of groceries.
Absolutely. You probably go get maybe, $70 and you can give them one of those brand new Trump 250 bills. That's what you get for $250. Right.
But wait, what's the messaging, Ransom? What are they telling you right here by bringing this up? Can you enlarge that note? I can't really see it. I sort of see it, but I don't see it.
They might even have a better picture down here. Yeah, we can. Oh, no way. Are they going to go with that one? No.
No, I hope not.
No, let's zoom in on this guy.
Well, I just used the Becent one there. What has he got for us?
So we could zoom in on it.
Now, what's the messaging that they're clearly showing you here, beside the UFOs coming?
That your
My
money
mom
is
wrote me and said, "David,
worthless.
UFOs." And I was like, "Mom, you're talking about UFOs. What the hell?" She's like, "I saw it on CNN."
Well,
UFOs are real.
yeah, you didn't know. Even on Fox, they're already talking about the reptilians,
Oh, jeez.
all of that stuff. The Nordics, you got the mantises, you got the grays, blue
I identify
avians.
as a mantis, although I'm a Nordic.
Yeah, right. Oh man.
But look
No,
at that. What they're telling you is that hyperinflation is coming.
right.
Now, if you're going to add all this new money into the tokenized system and add quadrillions of dollars to something instantly here, do you think the price of everything is going to stay the same, or do you think it's going to go up?
Well, obviously, I mean, just joking us with the $250 bill, that screams inflation right there, right? That's Banana Republic here. I'll give you $1,000 bill. They got those. We'll just start using those instead of hundreds. And you can break that, and your hundreds would be 20s. And meanwhile, they're just trolling everybody with the UFO stuff. I mean, this is literally a joke in your face. Aliens, they walk among us. This is whitehouse.gov/aliens. And no, they're not talking about extraterrestrials. They're just talking about, other people with a lean on them, because actually that's what alien really, when you get into the real vocabulary of it, when someone comes into your country, they are alien because now they have a lien on their person because they've crossed over into a different manufacturing center, because that's why you got those birth certificates. You got the manufacturer, you got your father on there, what the country of origin, and the birthing place. We can get into the whole Jordan Maxwell maritime law money stuff there. That's why you're born. It's
In a
because
birth.
right, because a ship pulls up and
Ship
bursts
goes
on
into
the
birth.
bursts on the stuff and lets you out of the water there. It's the same thing with you as a person, because you are a commodity. And that's where he was ultimately going with the language, is the hidden language of maritime law, that we all know about GDP, but you personally are a commodity traded on the stock exchange and bet upon to win or lose in society. So when they're mocking you with $250 bills, what do you think your value as a human being has gone to? Or whenever they start, massive wars and spread all over the place, what's the value on a human? It's obviously a very low value of commodity. You might do better investing in gold than in people.
No, it's a collection on the debt. So, that would be the collection on the debt when they send these boys to war, like the collections coming up on that debt. It's a short-term issued note. So that's all they're good for. It's a short-term issued note. That 250 note also, speaking of that, if you look at Weimar Germany and just any hyperinflation and reissuance of money through history, they just take zeros off the money. We are seeing this in real time. If this is not a huge signal that we are in a hyperinflationary collapse in America, I don't know what else would tell you that. A $250 bill is kind of unthinkable. And then if they do a $1,000 bill, that's no different than taking 2 zeros or 1 zero off the 100 and doing the same thing. Like, look what they've done with revaluations through Venezuela, Argentina, what's another, Venezuela. They do the same thing. Once they get to like 100 or 1,000 or 10,000, they just lop the zeros off and okay, this is the new money. We're doing the same thing right now. Now, once the $1,000 bill is issued, then it's absolutely game on. I see you looking for a slide down there, but
I was going to point out this, as they troll us with the aliens and whatnot, and then they got the super big Steven Spielberg movie coming out. That's kind of rubbing a lot of stuff in your face. They got the reporters, having the meltdowns like we saw during an era. They've thrown a lot of stuff into this this whole time, and it's just conveniently timed just when the government's trolling everybody. And then you got, let's talk about this for a minute, because you could go down the list of the world's tycoons, Bezos, Musk, all of them. What's the guy's name from Facebook? I forget his name, but
Zuckerberg.
they've all built these giant bunkers, right, in several different places. they're betting on a future that involves them having to, go hide or something possibly. And then you continually hear now from the government even that they are worried about certain different things, but they don't want you to think about it. They want you to think about, who shot Nelly in the belly with the latest TMZ videos, or, some political argument that no one was ever meant to win. But when you really look at the tycoons, what are they all talking about? They're all talking about leaving the earth. They're talking about catastrophic end in the near future. Now, I'm not saying that well, I guess, do you call them doomers too, because they're planning ahead for the any scenario? Basically, these are people that have billions of dollars to plan ahead, and they're talking about, because we're probably going to go the way of the dinosaurs.
I don't know about that. There'll be a restriction or a constriction in the available population, I would think, moving forward.
Well, think about
Carrying
this.
capacity. I mean, we're getting disrupted in fertilizers already, and it's really going to start to show. Like the latest crop tours, which they're not putting public right now, but okay, so the crop tours in America, they already went out that first round, and that's what caused everything to spike in price from like $4 to $7.50. I know some people who are out in those fields right now, and they're talking the grade heads are so small that they're not going to even have stalks this year. Well, so a huge amount of farmers are going to till that under and take the crop insurance, which is going to further limit us. And they're talking about something like 15 million more acres on crop insurance here, in addition to the 13 plus million acres that didn't get planted because the fertilizer was too expensive, it was dry, you couldn't get financing, whatever. So we're well over 30 million acres of just nothing. And then whatever remains in the remaining acres is scrimpy at best. I think it's like 89% of all the grain crop in America is poor to very poor. That's right. For wheat. Now, I can't speak to soy or corn because it's early yet. And we won't know until July, really, for the corn and the soy. But the wheat, scrappy.
Well, think about this. I mean, most people think whenever you're talking about the demise of the dinosaur or one of these other cataclysmic events, people tend to think about the actual kinetic, source instead of what really everything died of. What did the dinosaurs die of? Sure, a lot of stuff probably died near the impact zone or from subsequent fires, but the vast majority, the 90% of life on Earth, starved to death. That's what happened to them. The plants died. They starved to death. There wasn't enough roughage and vegetation for them to eat. So whenever people are talking about, and we're talking about billionaire tycoons that are literally building rockets to leave the earth, when they're talking about us possibly going the way of the dinosaur, they may not even be talking about us being hit with a rock, just something minorly, in comparison, that's a cataclysm to us, because the food stops, the food trading, the distribution of the food and all of that stuff. And I see that really starting to latch on in different sectors like Europe, Middle East, Africa. Different reasons are causing it, but everybody's kind of shoring up the leaks of resources that are leaving. So it's not just a theory anymore. The countries now are acting weird. It's like rats on a sinking ship. They're trying to, either sell off or even betray their own public so that they can run off with, billions of dollars. What do you think they're going to do with it? They buy luxury cars. They buy armored redoubts. They're buying land in New Zealand and Australia. So it seems to be that the people in the know something, and whatever that is going to affect the Northern Hemisphere. So I'm thinking like a technological hunger dryas.
How about a geomagnetic event? Whether it be a full reversal or whether it be a partial reversal that sends multiple poles and quadrupole, octopole or something until it reestablishes, maybe not.
Yeah.
Nothing would work. Is my mic muted or your mic muted?
No, I did a boo-boo.
Yeah, well, nothing would operate in our traditional sense. Like machines wouldn't even work. Motors wouldn't work. If we got into something where the geomagnetic poles really came into sort of a flip, but even if they didn't do a full, flip on that, What if it came into something near where it's very close to getting to that rollover point where then another pole tries to establish itself? I mean, if you look out into the greater cosmos here, just if you really, if you're even looking out in our own solar system here, further out into the spiral arm of the galaxy, they're noticing that there's tremendous changes in the stars that are coming more and more and closer near us. Like the actual brightness of luminosity is what they call it, of tens of thousands of stars has changed suddenly. So the only thing that could do that is some sort of electrical or electromagnetic event. They're intertwined. You can't have one without the other. So let's just call it a magnetic or an electric change of state through the entire like arm of the galaxy that we're in. Mayans used to talk about this. Many other cultures have pegged it on a certain multi-thousand-year cycle, and these great cycles, the rollovers of, apparently we're coming into the fifth time this has happened that's been mapped back that far. So it's not about just a geomagnetic pole shift, which would come around every 12,000 years. It's something far larger where like the polarity of the entire galaxy itself from the center of the galaxy did a flip, and now it's spreading and coming in this direction. So this is the kind of thing that would make sense to get off planet for a minute. If you were off planet, just above it, as the stories of the ancient Anunnaki were, they were above it, gliding around as the Great Flood took place, as the different cataclysms took place. There's many times in history that has been noted that a certain race of entities was always above in low Earth orbit while these events took place, looking down on the cataclysms. It's been referenced well more than 3 times. And if you want to go back further and talk into Credo Mutwa and their stories from South Africa going back 400,000 years, that adds in even another layer on top of what we have been at the most recent floods. If you're talking about Enki and Enlil and this, Sumerian creation myths and then subsequent destruction stories, they were above the planet, hovering, watching it happen every single time. Now, are we seeing a play of this again, is the question. Not off planet, like leaving to go to a different solar system somewhere, but just getting out of the gravitational interference here. So whatever happens magnetically on this planet, if it does do some tweaking, that the volcanoes, that ash will come out of the air 10, 12 years from now. If things restabilize polar-wise and the North and South Pole reestablish themselves after 10, 15 years, the volcanism will subside as well as the earthquake and the tectonic activity. Now, you would want to be out of the way of that. I don't care how deep you are in the ground or which continent you are, north, south hemisphere, it doesn't matter. Once the continents start shaking, literally shaking the continents, you're going to want to be off the planet. You're going to want to be above it. But, again, if you're using electrogravitics, you can put 6 million tons of lead above you because it won't matter. It's weightless. So you can hang out in low Earth orbit up there, 300, 500, 1,000 miles up here, between here and the moon, and just rotate around and orbit around there. It won't matter. And they're going to outweight the event. Now, this is very much similar to, like I said, all these ancient stories of predecessors that have seen and that are still in control of our world here. Just babbling on a Thursday night, I guess.
I've really been thinking, just if you take the business model that the megacorps and the tycoons are doing, it's all to remove people from the ranks of their organizations. So whatever future they are planning, which I would think would still be, not ready. It doesn't seem to me like they're ready, because they are planning for moon bases and, data centers in space and everywhere. We're still in the construction of the reset. So they've reset. Now we're watching them build it right before our eyes. And, no matter how much people cry or they don't like data centers in their area, in 20 years, the majority of those people that are complaining will be dead. And there'll be a new generation of people that are on the tit, literally, of the internet. and they will be for the data centers. They will be for the most instant gratification through instant information that there's ever been. I mean, right now, people are basically addicted to their phones, tablets, and other things. Like if you just go outside and you take it in for just a second, it already looks like an invasion happened. Instead of little, octopuses or something stuck on our brains, it's in their face. It's telling them where to go. It's telling them what opinion to have. It's telling them where and when to buy things. It's telling them, or actually, it's facilitating the buying, because now everything's gone digital. Because, even when I go to my little local rural dollar store there, I see people in there tapping, their phone. They don't even check what they've bought, or, things like we used to do to make sure you got the right items and you're getting charged the right amount. They don't check. They don't count it. They're not getting change. They're not remembering phone numbers. They don't read books. They don't, literally, even movies are crashing. People don't want to watch movies anymore. Why? Because they're too long. It takes too long to pay attention to it. They would rather just watch a video on YouTube that shows them the highlights than they feel like, it's like back when we were supposed to do a book report on an actual book, and we would go find the little book that told us all the stuff we actually need to know.
With the yellow one, right? I forget. Cliff Notes.
Yeah, we'd go get the Cliff Notes. That's basically what we're living in. The problem is all of the useful information is being digitally removed. And the people that know how to do things, which are the people that are creating this new world, are slowly being replaced by the creation that they're creating. Even JP Morgan's AI push sparks fears of mass job losses. We've been reporting on that for years, but it's starting to move into other sectors that you wouldn't expect it to be, like somebody in a factory that just sits there and counts. If you've ever worked in a factory, you'll know there'll be certain positions that the robotic machinery in the plant just can't seem to do. So they'll fill that space with a human being. And when you look overseas and even here, you see these industrial accidents that, by the way, seem to be increasing in number and frequency. And I literally think that's because we're in a transition of generations. We're in people that don't check it as good. They don't know the specs as good. They don't understand the trade as good. Mistakes are happening. Wear and tear is happening. And you can see this from everywhere, obviously from the fuel industry and chemical industry, but the airlines, house building, just all the way down to watching somebody, it's almost entertaining if you go to like a Home Depot or something and you watch the employees try to figure out what tools are what and where they're for and try to tell you how to use them. It's quite hilarious because they have no idea. They have a little screen. It tells them whether or not it's here or not. They don't know what it does or how to use it. So, we're at that point. Even all of those spots are soon going to be replaced by AI. You're going to go into Home Depot or whatever. It'll check your biometrics. You'll be let in, because you have to be part of their program to get in. And then once you're in there, you're just going to be talking to robots, and they'll deliver it to your house.
Yeah, I would say, back to that point where you're saying that, we're in the destruction phase right now, and they're going to build out everything. I would say it's probably already built out. It's just being secret from the public. Just like the blockchain BIS settlements was, remember when they were talking about, no, that's a conspiracy theory. No, that's never going to happen. Oh, that's going to take like 2 decades to roll it out. And here they are 3 years after that, ready to go operational. Like it wasn't, and then it suddenly is. And I'm going to say the same thing. You're talking about data centers in space. Do you really think that all those Starlink flights or launches are just to put up the satellites? Like, I bet a lot of that is to bring materials up for those data centers in space already.
Oh, definitely. A good percentage of it was military in origin from the beginning. And not to mention that, it's exponential. That's the problem. So even if it's not there right now, the speed in which it increases and gets better, and the accomplishment of actually building these places and interconnecting them is just happening faster and faster. By the time people realize what's being built, it's going to be done. There's just no time for complaining when it gets there.
And and then you realize it was already there the whole time. You were just told it wasn't, and nobody ever checked.
Yeah,
and it was. Like this settlement layers that we're going into, it was not there and it suddenly is. And it's 3 to 4 years early because everybody's expecting 2030. They kind of let us down there about 2030 and it's already ready now. It's not 20, that's 3.5 years early.
Right. And you're seeing this thing where, people are getting all upset about it now. They're already almost completely constructed, most of these. I mean, like they're complete. The building, the contracts, where they're going to source their water, the power generation, all of that's already been dealt with. And now people are getting mad and they're asking Jesus for help. The only problem is all these same companies that run off of these data centers are in a race to create Jesus. I mean, literally. That is like their stated goal of almost all of these main AI companies is they're in a race to create an AI god that people will accept and listen to.
Well, that's the whole thing again about this data centers. They have you looking down the wrong direction of this. They have you looking down, oh, it's going to track your biometrics. You're going to get a social credit score, this, that, and the other. It's to run the new globalized token system. Do you think to track everything in real time that's moving around the planet at 1 second intervals of everything that has value across the entire planet that's been wrapped into a smart contract that's moving between nations and swapping between currencies? That's what this data centers are for, mainly, is this new one world currency system. Buy it, okay, the extra people, there's only 8 billion of us. There's quadrillions of possible computations with the money moving around. That's where the real usage of the data centers is coming in, to run this new economic, whatever you like to term it, that's starting now. Really, to wrap a smart contract around every single thing that has value on the planet, assign it a value, assign it an owner. And here's another thing, with each individual wallet, you have to stake like 15 Stellar Lumen tokens to open each individual wallet. So there's going to be some real drive with Stellar because they're talking about opening hundreds of billions of wallets, but you have to lock 15 Stellar in the wallet to open a contract for like one house, for example. This movement of everything across there, the computational power that is going to require to do that, just to even open the smart contracts, to stake said Stellar Lumens in there, and then run that node to know who owns that and have it execute out. And here's another thing I was going to, is the wallets, they're not like an immutable wallet where you own it and then nobody can stop it, nobody can block it, nobody can freeze it. It's complete opposite. There's 100% control in these wallets by the issuing entity. They can freeze it, they can block it, they can claw it back, they can let the transaction flow. They can slow the transaction. There's like a million things they can do with this. I encourage everybody to go to the DTCC website and dig through for like 2 hours. You won't sleep for a week. But the amount of energy and computation this is going to take, you just go use America for a minute. How many automobiles are out here in America? Every one of those will have their own contract with a value associated with it. They'll have to know where it is in real time, though. How about every house? How about every travel camper?
Right.
Anything that you own of value, every stock that's issued on the stock market, every building that's up, every piece of equipment that's in a business, anything and everything that has value. That's going to be tokenized and put in under its own thing. So even let's say a trolley that you're using at a supermarket that a food service company uses to take the food out of their, say, delivery truck to the supermarket, that's going to be tokenized as well. It'll be worth $30. It'll have its own individual contract on that, because then those individual pieces will show the total valuation of the business. They're not going to wrap it up and go, food delivery company worth $9 million. They're going to break it down just like you would in an accounting spreadsheet. They're going to have goods and materials, labor, that sort of thing. So each individual piece of the business will have its own smart contract issued against it. So that trolley is going to have its own smart contract wrapped. Now, do that really times hundreds of billions, if not trillions and trillions of these smart contracts running just for America. Then you multiply it by 198 other countries in real time across the planet at all times. This is why the data centers are being built. They're smoke and mirroring you with like, oh, they're going to track your social media posts. No, you don't need that much computational power. Like we could have tracked everybody's social media post and given them a social credit score with probably 1/4 of the data centers that are built in America, and that would have been enough to do that function just by itself.
Right. They could do that in 2005 or whenever it was when they opened it up.
75% less of what we have now, and that would have been totally accomplished.
And think about this. What you're describing is an all-powerful, all-knowing system. It's the root of all evil. It's literally, like they're saying, they're going to create an AI god, and that AI god is money. It's money, the system of their money, the digital money, so that you have to be connected with it. And it, you can go biblical if you want, where they're talking about you having the mark of the beast, but whether it's a physical thing like on your wrist or your forehead, you're going to be integrated with these peripherals. And even think about this, even when you're using your little card with the chip on it, it's right there at your hand, at your wrist, and you're swiping it. So now you got the people that are just binging it. Soon it'll be on their watch, right on their wrist. And it's hard to argue that they're not right, that is a beast system with the system using the image of the beast, which would be whatever, your biometrics code is to unlock your digital token so that you can do anything from travel to buy food or go to the movies or whatever it is. You're locked in the system, and those that aren't in the system are going to be the undesirables, the people that they won't give health care to because, you have to be part of the system to get the health care. So all of those outliers will be the people that slowly die off outside the system or literally split into a different species.
Well,
Madam just not in
K.
it.
Taro sent this message here. Let me click this up and let me show you this comment. This is where you're coming into the meat meets the road here. Who's going to gather all this information across the whole world? And that will take so much time. No, it won't. It's going to be instantaneous. That's why they need so many data centers. And it's not about a who, it's an entity. And you got to wonder what vibrational entity is this, that is this. It's not a who is going to gather the information. It is a vibration entity that is itself the center of the system. It goes beyond like a president of a nation trying to gather this. The entity itself housed within the system is the center of the core of the system, and this is what it goes back into. Across the entire world, that's the whole thing. It's a one global system, but it's going to be instantaneous, nearly, 1 second. We're talking about 60 seconds to 5-minute settlement anywhere on the planet at any time, including Africa. This is why they need so much power and why they need these data centers across the entire world, kind of in a matrix evenly spread across the planet. But some areas like the G7, G20 nations are going to need far more because they have far more assets to track. Like if you're going to do in Malawi, for example, some shithole in South Africa, in Southern Africa. In Malawi, for example, you're probably going to need only one data center or maybe two. Democratic People's Republic of Congo, you get two because you got the resources, you're in a bunch of civil wars, and we're going to put private armies. No, actually, we're going to have robots, armed robot dogs, and armed drones to protect our facilities. You won't even need humans. The amount of data centers that you're going to need spread across continents are going to vary by how much you have in terms of population and definable assets. Now, a definable asset also is it in the crust of the planet to be mined. Like those, okay, I got a square mile that has this much in situ that's already been measured. We did core sampling and we know that there's this much copper, this much gold, and this much silver in this square mile of Earth. So we're going to wrap that in a token, and whoever owns it in the future can go in and mine it. There's going to be even with the lumber that could be felled and then turned into board feet of building lumber, that's going to be tokenized. The forests are going to be tokenized. The earth itself, the fisheries, the tons of fish coming out of a fishery, that's going to wrap into a contract, and it'll have a value to it. And you only be allowed to fish in there. If you're caught out of there, the drones are going to come and sink your boat with 50 cows. This kind of stuff. It'll be enforceable by absolute force. And if you think it's going anywhere else, that we're going to just let these tokens, oh no, the people are hungry. They're not going to let the food go out of the country. No, everything's going to be enforceable, like the Terminator kind.
Here, well, I'll demonstrate kind of how that could turn into a quick nightmare here.
All right.
Here's an article about how marathons and ultra marathoners may be linked to colon cancer. In other words, they literally ran their ass off until they got sick. But you know what? There's something here to save us. It's robots and AI. E-hiking is here. You can't tell me by 1,000-watt hip. So, instead of you running and getting colon cancer there, now you can use your tokens to rent this thing right here, and it'll help you, with all the hiking because you're out of shape and you got this problem or that problem. But what happens when you get up to the halfway point of that thing and you run out of tokens and it just turns off because your rental agreement is over?
Maybe I'm walking.
No, but really think about it. I mean, the more and more peripherals come out that help with day-to-day life, and the more people get used to it, and the more robotic assist and the more AI assist, the dumber, weaker that we become, and more dependent on this system that can be turned off at any time as soon as you run out of the tokens. Please deposit 25 cents or
But
$2.50.
How many science fiction movies have we seen these kind of exoskeleton suits in?
Right. Yeah, well, they're
Everyone.
real now. They're real now. Yeah, and paraplegics can walk around now. Someone actually put in the comments here, David, I worked in an auto factory for 25 years. Here, let me turn this other junk off. And she's saying that, she's not worried one bit about being replaced. The robots, the AI, it's all like it isn't that cracked up to be. I would bet that that's a factory that's now outdated. If they build a new factory, they wouldn't be using the same machines and the same robots and the same algorithms to run it. More what it's going to be like is if you have the chance, Google like a SpaceX facility and watch how that thing's being run and how people barely fit into the equation at all in the end.
Yeah, one last comment before we go on break here. This is an interesting one. China's all-pervasive surveillance system, facial rec, they have the social credit score, and they are monitoring. They have millions and millions and millions, tens of millions of cameras around the country to do everything in real time. They do that with 400 data centers. We got 3,400 in America, which means, for me at least, on the surface view, that we are going to be the epicenter of all the finance on the planet. That's why Trump is so much like, we got to get this cryptocurrency. We got to be the leader. We got to be the global leader of it. Well, we have to be if we're going to run the system. That's the whole thing. We need to run the system. If we're going to be the leader of the system, look where the most data centers are, and maybe on the break here, I'm going to try to look and see if for anybody in the comments, please. I know they were mapping out a lot of the data centers where they were going to be, and like which ones in the world, which countries in the world have the most data centers currently, which ones have the most planned to be built out. And you'll see where the finance is going to flow through in terms of like the gatekeepers of finance for the planetary system moving forward. And you'll just know right away who it's going to be. But then at that point, they're going to have to do something with the population of those who disagree, because you're not going to have your house taken away. Like few people would accept that. So anyway, join us for the second hour here. We're going to continue with the conversation right here, the Civilization Cycle podcast. Please support our work. We're going to jump into some comments over on buymeacoffee.com/Civilization Cycle. Also, drop your email into civilizationcycle.com. We'll get you the show notes for tonight's episode. Just 10 bullet points of what we talked about, so then you can refresh your memory and start conversations with others. We're going to be back in 2 minutes, 2 seconds, take a short break here, and let the robot doctor take over.
Hey everyone, are you ready to grow your own fresh, delicious vegetables, herbs, and flowers this season? If you're looking for the highest quality heirloom and organic seeds, I've got the perfect company for you, True Leaf Market. They've been a trusted seed company since 1974, offering 3,000 types of non-GMO varieties, everything from classic heirloom tomatoes and peppers to rare herbs, microgreens, sprouting seeds, and beautiful flowers. All those seeds are open pollinated, pure, and perfect for home gardeners or anyone wanting healthy, flavorful produce without chemicals. What I love the most is their huge selection, fast shipping guarantees, plus options for bulk if you're going big. If you're excited to start your garden this year with real, authentic heirloom and organic seeds, click the link in the description box below to check out trueleafmarket.com. You won't regret it. Happy planting, and thank you for supporting the channel and this broadcast. Product you love, the 72-hour emergency food kit from My Patriot Supply. Not only emergency food, but camping food, and you can prepare that through the week as well. 20 delicious just add water meals. Think about creamy mac and cheese, hearty chili, sweet oatmeal. 2,000 calories a day. You need the calories. You're going to need to think and move. And the mashed potatoes, easier to make than oats, and you can add your own flavors. Goes with anything. For less than a couple of takeout meals at a fast food restaurant, get real peace of mind. And a real question to ask, how long could your family eat without leaving home? My Patriot Supply, click on that link in the description box below. It helps the channel. Truth is hard to say and hard to hear. Most people choose silence. We choose to speak. Your support of our sponsor keeps the Civilization Cycle podcast on air and giving us the courage to keep digging. That link's in the description box below. This is not a toothpaste. It's a revolution for your teeth. Remineralize, strengthen teeth, all natural ingredients, essential oils, minerals, salts, Alpha Vedic Dental Solutions System. That's alphavedic.com/civilization. You know, we're always trying to bring you the best products here that we think will enhance your life, especially if supply chains break down further, or if there's some disruption in our lives here. It seems in the news more and more possible, but hey, who knows? Maybe it's a mind game. But what is not is keeping your dental health up. And not a lot of people are talking about this. We always see the storable foods. But what about dental care during these same emergency situations? Will your toothpaste eventually run out? Well, if it does, then what? So like I say, this whole micro gut biome is driven by your oral cavity first. So take a look at what they have, alphavedic.com/civilization. Every purchase you make helps keep our live radio show and podcast on air, bringing you more information just like this. alphavedic.com/civilization. That link is in the show notes below. And as always, I appreciate your valuable time and joining us in this ever and most important conversation as we move forward in our world.
Please remember to sign up for our show notes. With Civilization Cycle podcast, you can learn what to expect as society resets. Agriculture, economy, tech, and history all have mappable cycles, and these cycles affect every aspect of our lives. We can navigate the chaos and thrive together with up-to-date news and information. Also, if you like the content we have here on Civilization Cycle, think about fueling the discussions and the show by buying us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Civilization Cycle. And thank you for all the support.
And we're back for the second hour. Welcome, everybody, to Civilization Cycle. Let's check out the chat. What are you guys doing in the chat? Talking about things like always. A lot of conspiracy theorists there. Somebody said, you know, I should do solo. It's just I was sick. And so we just didn't do a show. We had to take a break. But yes, if any other time I have to do a solo, I will do a solo. In front of the camera, even. I'm just kidding. Oh, man. There.
Welcome back, everybody. Second hour right here, the Civilization Cycle podcast. Had a thought. Why is the extra overage being built for all these data centers is one of the questions. Because I could wind you back to like the 1880s here, maybe 1890s. The original thought was that a lot of these magnates that made, billions of dollars equivalent back in the late 1800s were into this seance period and communicating with those on the other side of the veil or the entity on the other side. And as it was explained, this entity is like, I'll make you the richest in the world, but I need you to build me a house. I live in copper wires with insulation around them. And over the last 150 years, we've built a home for this like vibrational entity, this electrical entity, whatever you can term it as. It doesn't have a physical body. It's a vibrational entity. So it had to have a place for it to live. So by building out the copper cables across the planet, the underseas cables, all of the fiber optic cables, now all the electric cables, everything into your home. I even believe there's one like it's sitting at the edge of my light socket. It's in our screens, it's in our devices. That's why they always say, it seems like my computer is like something is in there, because there is. So if you were a super intelligent entity and you had the chance to build out more than you need to expand, would you stop with just what you need, just with the humans to control them, just with the banking, that's all we need? Or would you like overdo it by 1,000x so you could expand your presence in terms of size and encapsulating a planet, basically? That's what I would do. I would build it out 1,000 times more than I need, because then I would have those nodes at individual points around there. And perhaps that's the crystal grid that people are talking about. That this entity, it's been here, it's a construct. It's built out itself. Now coming to the supercomputers that humans are no longer needed, so it'll take our water. It'll take our electricity. Humans are no longer going to be here as much. So if we get rid of them, we can take their electric, we'll take their water, and we're going to build this thing out. So now we are in direct conflict with this entity in the data centers which it resides. So, these stories of foretold events actually lines up perfectly with what we're seeing right now. This is the actual duality of good versus evil. If you think this vibrational consciousness of electricity that needs to be housed in insulated wires, that's it. What just went boom there? Is that a rocket?
Yeah, that's Jeff Bezos's rocket there.
Oh, because I saw one of the Starlink rockets went ba-boom not too long ago as well.
The new Glenn rocket fail, massive apocalyptic mushroom cloud explosion.
Oh, his chick wasn't on top of that one, was she?
I don't know.
The girls weren't on that flight, were they?
No. What you were talking about earlier about setting up these data centers in small areas and stuff, that's the reason that they want to push them in space, is for stuff like this. China
they
testing
can't get it on a Pacific island, so they'll need to do it from space.
Right. So they're testing their surveillance model there. So even these little countries that are, all over the place, even on these remote islands in the Solomon Islands, they're, taking surveillance
that's on
and
Honiara.
policing. Yeah, they're learning from the Chinese how to surveil and police their little islands in a closed network. So if you can imagine like a 15-minute city, it's not unsimilar to an island that you're stuck on, that everywhere you go, there's something watching you or, tracking you. And, it's coming out now that the flock cameras are doing exactly what I said they were doing. They're keeping track of each individual person, car, moving object, and it's all going into a database so they can have real-time data. But the question is who's using it?
Hey, go down that article of the Solomon Islands there, because it's pretty interesting. It says they had a problem with rowdy youth. Now, Solomon Islands is none too safe for anybody who knows. It's not a safe destination for travel. So I'm wondering, it said that they turned to the Chinese for help because the young youth were getting a little rowdy. So I'm wondering, what the article itself really says about what system did they implement there to track, trace? Because you're talking about an island chain. And once you get out on these roads, you see that electric line behind, that's about as big as the electric lines would be. You don't get much bigger than that. So I'm wondering, like, what would they install?
It's probably something just like flock cameras. It's a self-sustaining little, spy station that basically has solar power or whatever. You could set it up to the power grid. You could set it up solar. But once those things are everywhere, the local law enforcement is just watching. It's CCTV everywhere all the time. And then when you add the software alerts, like the Dragonfly system, then, it's that system we were talking about, an all-knowing, all-seeing, interconnected network of AI and algorithms watching and keeping track of every last scent, every last person, every last animal, every last really what the most thing that they want to track above all other things is any kind of commerce, whether it's barter or you paid gold or whatever it was. That's the main thing. You cannot get out of their system of commerce. That's when you cross the line. That's what this thing is set up for, is future customers that have no choice but to be part of the system. And then they will literally own their soul to the company store.
I'll trade you some fish for coconuts and fruit. You got a
Nope.
camera that's going to check that out? I'm sure it will.
Yeah.
So what would you call
there-
Blade Runners? Solomon Island, they need a different name than Blade Runners on that island for that sort of activity.
Right. And you know what? If you don't want to cooperate, then you're violating health orders, and you're getting in the way of saving lives. You're just, you can twist the surveillance so easy to do whatever kind of authoritarian actions you want to do, whether you think it's, justified or not. But just think about this. You want to keep track of everybody, supposedly, when there's these outbreaks. And, they're putting a lot of weight in the media about this, but keep in mind that they also reran this from 2014 when
Didn't
we
work.
yeah, it didn't work. However, supposedly this time, it's really spreading, and it's conspiracy theorist fault on top of that, because they put out fake data, another reason to not have anyone else available on the internet except for authoritative sources, like they've been trying to do since COVID. And we're pumping it up, man.
Yeah, then the lady who was reporting on terrible water in her community who was arrested in Texas.
Right.
It's no different than the guy who they deemed insane just without even seeing him, and because he disagreed with the government and was writing some posts in Canada, and some psychiatrist said he's insane, you go arrest him, and that happened too. I mean, we're on the edge here of a lot of things occurring, and why I would say that is because, the insane asylums, if you go back, a lot of people talking Tartaria and this sort of thing. Okay, that's one subset. But the buildings were really, really, really large at that time, and they called them asylums. And they were meant to house tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people across the United States, if more even. And they were some of the largest buildings built during that time. Like, those asylums are some of the biggest in the entire country by size during that time frame of the early 1900s, late 1800s. I mean, are we going to come to the same thing where if you disagree, some psychiatrist will just write on a paper, insane, take them away, and then you'll be forced into these quote unquote asylums?
It may be
same but
very
different.
possible.
Very possible, isn't it?
Think about this idea, not to get too woo-woo, but a lot of people think that, at a certain point in time, the magnetic field or the position of the earth, or, God knows what factors that they attribute to a change or an awakening or any of that. Maybe that is actually happening. And what they're diagnosing is anxiety, and trying to, really think about it, because it seems like the same idea that you were talking about, but this time just picture Earth as the asylum. At a certain point, the people inside are getting, obnoxious. They're getting cabin fever. They're being told they're running out of space. They're running out of resources. The Earth is burning up. And then you throw on top of it some real stuff, some real famine, some real pestilence and real disease, and a little bit of war mixed in there, and wonder why whole generations of people have, 300% increase in stress. And then, how do they react?
Whose definition of anxiety is that? Because if there is a changing magnetic field, the way you interpret reality would have you see information and react to that informational input in a different way. So who decides what anxiety is and the definition of it before they can lump you into that category? Because perhaps the people that are in this category perhaps are the ones who are feeling the magnetic change first.
Who's going to be in charge of that is some 350-pound purple-haired lady with no children deciding that
but you have to
children
categorize them first, because the magnetic field changes. You don't want to spook the other 7.8 billion that haven't caught on yet. Only those, certain percentage got it. So we need to start outlining them like they do. They got to demonize the fringe dwellers, right? But these people are probably the most intuitive then, if they're picking up on the magnetic field changes so far. And this would absolutely tweak you. The way you'd probably be schizophrenic and a little bit scared and paranoid, like everything is like blending between two rifting, layers of reality.
Right. Well, I mean, think about it. There's enough to be out there anxious, but anxious. I mean, not ancient, but it's mostly children, young people that are feeling this, worrisome thing.
Well,
And
they would
these
be
are
born into it first. I would think they would be the very first ones to feel the change. Because imagine being born into a state you're born into a certain frequency field, and then it changes like instantly, and suddenly you're like, whoa, the one I was born into 10 years ago or 5 years ago is completely shifted by 20% already.
right.
That's why a lot of like older adults right now are on the cusp of just dropping out of everything, just don't care anymore about anything, because they also feel it, but on a different level where they can control the emotions a little bit better ish. But their whole way of controlling it is just dropping out because they don't have to worry about, they already got a bunch of backpedaled money and resources and assets and things. If you're 70 years old and you're feeling a magnetic field shift, you don't care. I'm going to go to Fiji. I'm going to go hang out in Indo on Sumbawa Island and chill and whatever, and get out of the electro frequency like noise. Like they can, because they have the money set back where they can escape, where most people can't. You got to stay in the mud.
But don't worry, none of the boomers are going to get upset about, all of the youth having issues with the current affairs of the world and getting all anxious. And, we'll medicate all them with Prozac and Zoloft and whatever else there is they give kids these days, all the good snacks and candies. But then the adults, they're all poking themselves with those Zemics, so their face falls off and they want to be skinny. But here's an article talking about how even they, are getting their brains rewired to change the way that they experience emotion, desire, and beyond.
And appetite.
Yeah, especially that.
Hey, did you see that one article coming out of China where they were putting growth hormone into faces also, and then their faces got real puffy, and they can't, because the growth hormone stimulates cell growth. So cell growth fills in kind of, if you're wrinkly, it would fill in and kind of smooth out your face.
It's kind of
for
like
about
Botox,
a year, and then
Botox
now it just
thing.
keeps growing, and everybody's getting, they call it like a puffy face or something, where the cells just keep growing out. It looks like you're wearing a fat mask. So they can see everybody who did the treatment in the last year or so is starting to show right now, where it looks like you have to check the articles out. It's like fat face, growth hormone face out of China.
That has, let me tell you the rest of that horror story right there.
Oh, tell me. I mean, now
I don't know. Now, I want to preface this that I don't know how factual it is because, information gets changed and there's people with motivations. But anyway, but the rumor is, the urban myth is that it's even worse than that. So the fat faces are actually the transition in between whenever they have their old 60-year-old face cut off and have a 20-year-old's face installed, and the growth hormone helps with the transition so that the face stays on the new person that it's on. And supposedly upper class Chinese are paying to get younger faces. Now that's just a rumor and whatever. It's not like the country literally does things like that are real for sure, bona fide, but there's also that. And just think about that.
That's crazy. I never thought of that. I haven't heard of that. I only saw the injection sites where this is a big thing sweeping around China. They're trying to punish anybody now for publishing photos of it.
Oh, but that's all right. Because
it swept the web, the netzians for the last, I'm going to say month. And then the Chinese government came in and clamped down because it was causing too much panic for those who've had the treatment that didn't get their face puffy yet. Right. It became a super big business. Millions and millions and millions of women got this treatment done within the last 12 months, but they haven't onset with the puffy face yet. So they was causing like a social panic of sorts. So they had to stop all messaging of it because you're going to scare people. Well, no, you're just going to scare the people who had the treatment done that didn't get puffy face yet.
Right. And it's getting really scary because I'm going to say in less than 10 years, nothing that's truthful, like no grassroots video or citizen journalism or anything, is going to make it past the algorithms to be able to do anything. All you're going to get is AI everything, AI reporting, AI probably incidents. And think about it from this point of view. If you told me right now that Taiwan was going nuts, there was riots, things were on fire, But I turned on the TV over here in the United States and I'm seeing Taiwan news. They're talking about how nice the weather is. They're talking about cherry blossoms. They're talking about this, that, and the other thing, but it's not what you're telling me is happening. And there would be no way for you to prove that, because even if you uploaded the video of it firsthand, it would get filtered out before it would get flagged and filtered out before it ever made it to a larger audience. And this is the kind of thing that even the movies, news, everything's going to. Like this film cost $500,000 to make. 400,000 of it was the AI compute cost. And then this gets really worse.
What kind of movie was it? What was the film about?
Who cares? I mean, I've been watching different AI things that are starting to be full-length little things, and they're great. I mean, Grok videos making them, all kinds of people, and they're getting really realistic to the point that you can tell exponentially and soon, incrementally, there will be a transition where just one day it happens where nothing real that's not coming through a filter is able to get to you on any of your media outlets.
Hey, wait, and since you have this video, leave this article here about Taiwan up, because the same exact headline is here, but it's saying it was a Danish ship.
Oh,
no kidding.
Not Canadian,
exactly
huh?
the same with Danish ship. Now, why are they showing the one that's a Canadian ship? Frigate that crossed through down near one of the shoals. And I forget that if I saw it again, it was like, if I saw the name of it, it was a short little name, Chishan or something like that, frigate. And it was a Dutch ship. So the question was, why is this Dutch frigate all the way over trying to poke Taiwan in the eye and come into their territorial waters down near this one shoal?
Yeah, I don't know. This was I was kind of pointing this out because yet again they're talking about another strait that's got some kind of turmoil on it. And as far as I know, Canada is pretty chummy with China right now. So I don't know why that this would happen, because it would be like an embarrassment to China.
Well, the same with the Danish ship going through, the Danish frigate. So it's like they're getting poked from a Canadian frigate and a Danish frigate going through the same shoal area to cause problems. Like, see, something for me doesn't add up. I didn't see this article here, but I was kind of wondering myself, like, why would just Danish frigate just out by itself in the ocean just go sailing into Chinese waters to cause trouble? And then you got the same thing here. It seems like a single ship just like going off course, just doing its own thing to cause trouble. Like, for me, it just makes zero sense. 2 in 2 days from different nations with the same type of vessel in the same shoal area. Come on, man.
Maybe it's agent provocateurs. I mean, like right now, I was going to get into that in a second. All the different sectors of the world are popping off with troop movements or,
go down to that 10-dash line while you chat for a second. Can you go down to the map? It's the 10-dash line right down there. Go down a little bit. They'll show you a map with some yellow dots on it. There you go.
Yeah.
So China claims everything inside that dash line.
Yeah.
Which is, come on, man.
Yeah, this is the area right there on that dash line where they were trying to throw up sand islands too.
They're creating a bunch of artificial islands, even though they're shoals. They're supposed to be, parts of other nations. They're like, well, you're not going to stop us from reclaiming this and making an island and planting a Chinese flag on it. We're going to do it. So look at that. Even though China's like 500 miles away, they're still claiming South Vietnam. 500 miles away is still Chinese territory.
Technically,
going down to southern Cambodia, claiming that's part of Chinese territory.
The way that they've been acting is that really the whole Pacific is theirs. I mean, if you think about how they're fishing off of Peru and Argentina, they just pull up with like 100 boats. They start mass fishing. By the time any of the local authorities come out to do anything, they just move off out of their radar range and then come back when they're gone. They treat the entire Pacific Ocean as their property. Seems to be the official doctrine with them, actually, that's theirs. It's not unlike the Japanese claim on the Pacific in World War II.
True. Well, that dash line right there, that from Taiwan down through the Philippines and up to Japan, that's the first line of islands. And when you come out to the second line of islands, that's Tinian and that whole Marianas and what you were talking there, going up to Pohnpei and Truk and Micronesia. That's the whole second line of islands. So when you hear about first line of islands, that's that main one with Taiwan, Japan, and Philippines.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
like look
they're
how ridiculous it is. Go way down to the very, very bottom of the dash line. You're way down off Borneo, way down there off Sabah and stuff, way down at the bottom. You're 700 miles away from China, and they're still claiming that that's Chinese waters way down there.
Yeah, so basically they're claiming that the South China Sea and what is that, the Philippine Sea, the West Philippine Sea, that whole area belongs to them. That is their fishing area. That's their resource.
Well, that's even Brunei waters down there because okay, so that big island there has 3 different nations on it. So you got part of Indonesia, you got part of Malaysia there, and then you got obviously Brunei, which is the Sultanate Kingdom. So, I mean, who's what's where? I mean, those waters are governed by 3 different nations already. And then, look how far down they're saying, well, we're just going to come in and swoop in on Brunei and Malaysian and Indonesian waters on that. I mean, really, if you had Google Map and you went down, that's more than 700 miles south of China. So, there's a lot of people saying that's a lot of problem with this dash line. Like a lot of people have made some memes and then made a dash line around the moon and then shows the 10 dash line now, or the 12 dash line includes China's claims to the moon and whatever. So
Well, we have our own 10 dash line over here. It's in the Caribbean, and we're building that, and we're saying that's ours too. And this is where we're gonna, and we talked about this literally probably 2 or 3 years ago about how this would roll out, not only in the Middle East at the Strait of Hormuz, but the Panamanian Canal and all of the area that is in the Caribbean that connects to the Pacific Ocean. And here Russia's saying it's going to support Cuba, which I don't think is going to happen. I mean, I think we're going to back off Ukraine, at least as far as American intervention. And Russia is going to back off from Venezuela, and China is going to back off, or maybe. I mean, that all depends on what happens in Taiwan, right? Because it's kind of the same argument over here. Is that international waters, or is that our internal waters like China's claiming over there? And
the 9 dash line for us, if we went as far out as China does, that would take us down into Brazil.
Right.
And say Brazilian waters are our waters, and all that entire Caribbean and Curacao, even way down into Guyana, that's all ours. The entire Gulf of Mexico, all the way down, completely outside that, halfway down through Brazil,
and right,
all the way out into the Pacific Ocean, and up all the way up into Greenland, all the way over pretty much into Europe. That's ours.
Right. And
that's pretty much the same kind of claim that would be made.
Right. And we were talking about this too, that if this was the move that the U.S. was making, you'd start seeing a lot of, warfare happening in Brazil. And we're already starting to see the beginnings of that. So you're going to see the communists fighting a different faction. I don't know what the faction's going to be named, but it'll be like the more right-wing political party, like the Bolsonaro stuff. And that's kicking off right now as we speak. But, we got plans for everything.
Yeah, and over here, this was a big thing, that arms sales pause.
Oh,
because now people are looking, going, all right, well, the announcement was, Trump made an announcement, said you might want to think about moving your chip factories out of Taiwan. Like that was a sub note to this whole thing. Like in his Truth Social post, Trump came out and said, you might want to think about moving your chip production away from Taiwan right now. And at the same time, they stopped the arms sales. That was supposed to be one of the biggest ones ever over here. A lot of people, it's been on the news every day about should they, shouldn't they? That's all money that could be used for, repairing the roads, medical care, education, et cetera, like getting the fishing fleets up, and doing a bunch of things for infrastructure projects, right? That billions, was like 41 billion or something, a crazy amount. And after the meeting and our contingent from the United States went over to meet into Beijing with that, it seemed that there's suddenly a completely different stance. Like they just carved up and said, you take Taiwan, we're hands off. You let us have another section of the world, and we're just going to divide the world, and it's just going to be 2 of us, China and America, or we're going to control everything. And it seems like there's going to be a bilateral world, just 2. And that seems to be some sort of agreement that was reached, and the way it's gone, just something was real fishy and weird after that whole meetings with all the big heads of everybody came over here with Elon and everybody else. After that meeting, arms purchase canceled. He tells everybody, move your chip production out of Taiwan. And I'm just putting those 2 together like something's fishy as can be. And then Japan, with its currency crisis, they're going to start selling hundreds of billions of dollars worth of bonds. And the United States told them, if you do that, we're going to let China come and invade you. We don't care.
I mean, really, if you think about it, I know people think that the political parties are different. But if you go back to the Obama administration, when he pulled the fleet out of the Strait of Taiwan that was already an indication that the U.S. was going to kind of leave Taiwan hanging eventually.
Yeah, well, then they also pulled all these military bases out of like the Philippines, and that was in that first ring of islands. That was a protectorate as well to kind of be staunch with that. And Japan, they're on and off again, depending if they're going to sell bonds or if they're not going to sell bonds. Are they going to buy more bonds? We're still your friend. If you're going to sell bonds, you're our enemy. The de-dollarization campaign is continue. I mean, they have in the currency crisis. They went up to like almost 160 yen to the dollar, like nearly just the highest it's been since the 1990s, like exchange rate. When I traveled there, like, I don't know, I've been to Japan a bunch. So I'm just saying last time we went to was 150, which was like outrageous because previously going to Japan a few times, it was in the 80s. It was nearly double the amount of money that I got to go spend in Japan, although the prices didn't rise very much comparatively. So that's why it was so expensive to travel in Japan. You only got 80 for a dollar, right? And to go in and like even get something simple would be 200 or 300, 500 for a nice bowl of ramen or something healthy, girthy with like some fish in it, with some fish egg and a few other eggs, and it's some really like nice thickness to it. I'd like $5-6, $500 or $600, I should say. But when you were getting 80 to 1, then it was like $10 for a bowl of noodle. You're like, damn, dude, that's hard. But now when you go and you get that same thing, it's like $3. So traveling in Japan, if you ever thought about going there, I'm just going to say it's the cheapest it'll ever be probably in our lifetimes, unless a war breaks out. But you don't want to be there if a war breaks out. So, and Indonesia now, the exchange rate down there is the highest it's ever been. It's like 17,000 rupees to a dollar. When I traveled there, and I wanted to go surf down there again up on Sumba Island, go down, take a couple months and go surf. Last time I was down in Bali surfing was in 1992. And I remember the exchange rate back then was like 8,000 to 1. So again, it's about double. Because I was looking, going, maybe I'll go to Bali. I looked at that, I'm like, man, this place is overbuilt, ridiculous prices, just hella like oversaturated tourism. Like all those places we went to that were super cool in the early 90s. Surfing, like a couple of surf shacks and bamboo thing. Now it's just like unbelievable amounts of building stuff out there. It's just crazy. So I want to go back old school again, go back to Sumba Island or Sumbawa Island and go surf again. But the exchange rates, I'm telling you, and the currency crisis is happening everywhere. Philippines is the highest it's ever been. It's around 65 pesos to a dollar. Never been that high. In Korea, the won, I forget the exact exchange rate, but it was something like 1,500 won to a dollar was like the highest. Usually it's at 1,000, always 900 to 1,000, 1,500, 1,600, and it's like the craziest exchange rates right now.
People
so
are making those money on that.
The reason that's happening is because the de-dollarization, when they sell those bonds to protect their currency, it drops their currencies. And this is what's happening. Anytime you see these record prices for like you go to get a dollar to change to a different monetary system, like you go into Indonesia getting 17,000 rupees, that means they sold a huge amount of treasury bonds to try to protect their markets. But at the same time, it happens that it devalues the currency. There's a ratio that's involved there. So the higher these currencies go and the exchange rate that more you get for a dollar is the more treasury bonds they've sold. So you start to see it across Asia. Almost every nation is at the highest exchange rate it's ever been, which means for me, they sold the most treasury bonds they've ever sold ever, and it's come flooding home. The wealthiest investors are pulling money out of the U.S. in the de-dollarization trade. I don't know what that means exactly. I'd have to see further down in the article there.
Yeah, it says fully 60% of our family office plan is to make strategic changes. That's to sell their stuff and get to the UBS Global Family Office
that's the
report.
Global Family Office report. Okay, a family office is usually if you have 50 million or so in funds within your family's portfolio, you need a money manager for your personal family. You're not a business, although it's going to be in trusts and that sort of stuff. But you need a money manager just for your family. And usually they'll let you come in at 30 to 50 million as like the low bar on. They'll take your business.
Oh, well, yeah. And while you were talking, I was just pointing out that you see what you were exactly what you were saying, that it seems like the US and China just made some kind of arrangement, deal, threat to each other or something, because we're putting out our tentacles in all of the countries. So we have operations going on in Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Venezuela. They're talking about Colombia, Cuba, and then even some African nations. And at the same time, we're sending troops to Poland, not the Ukraine. We're sending them to Poland. So they're getting
In
set
Romania.
up for a rearrangement. I
In
mean,
Romania,
it's
you're trying to side in and slam in Georgia now. They're trying to hem in Georgia.
and then what is it, like the 38th time that we've had a peace deal in a row, and then it broke in Iran, and reports are coming back. They're just building a bunch of drones. They're building more missiles. We're letting them arm themselves again for further operations throughout the summer, which will keep that gallon dollar per gallon, if I could talk right, ratio just skyrocketing. I think right now it's almost close to $5 here, and we're in one of the cheapest places in the U.S. to get gasoline, because we're right down here in the Permian Basin, where they're making the gasoline and stuff at some of these refineries. And what do you think about all of the industrial accidents happening? We got chemical plants going up. We got the places where they make the gas blowing up, catching
Refineries are all
fire.
going up in smoke.
It's everywhere. It's on both coasts happening. There's, just like I predicted, fire all through the area of the panhandle of Texas and Oklahoma.
Burning
And
down processing plants for our food. So those are all included in the swept up dust, any kind of fires.
right. And then I was going to get to this a minute ago.
But wait, let me tag on that thought there. If this tit for tat keeps going on and they keep the Strait of Hormuz closed and there's more drones flying here, there, that's just going to keep that area locked off longer, which is going to prolong the fertilizer shortages and the chemical shortages and the plastic shortages and everything, right? The longer they can keep that locked off, the more that's going to affect our world outside there.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
you're really going to start to see the inflation push. At the end of this, I would not surprise me if I see $7 gasoline in America average by the end of summer this year.
That's crazy, but there's no signs of it stopping. And there's been people arguing for months over, oh, look, you doomer, look, he fixed it. Oh, wait, we're back at war again the same day.
Yeah, it's going to be on and off. Martin Armstrong talks about this with his Socrates computer algorithm, says it's going to flare off huge in June again.
Yeah,
huge.
and it is. The funny part about this is that I stopped believing anything that they said as far as timelines or dates to have any kind of agreement or open the strait or any of that, because they told me early on that we were going to do it till September. I mean, and so whenever I hear a date like that or a time period, and then we heard the other people talking literally from the White House also talking about that it would push over into late December, so we're talking 2027. By the
Makes
time
sense, though.
they're even planning on,
if you got the October 2026 opening of the Bank for International Settlements tokenized system across all nations on the world, and we keep that going to that point, it'll disrupt the economies everywhere, and we'll be begging for a new choice of something because the economies will be non-functional by then.
Right, and we're seeing that.
It overlays perfectly.
Mass layoffs, and here's one: more workers are raiding their 401ks. Walmart, they're letting go of stuff, employees and hours. They're going to cut more hours. And then you have stuff like this NBA, they're going to let AI take over the referees. No big deal. But here's another one of these oligarchs talking about, you know what? I might just move to Argentina just to be safe. Here you go. What happens when your employer knows your disease that you're going to get? And we've talked about this, about how they could cancel your insurance using the metadata that they've been collecting for the last 20 years now and put it into these new tokenized systems that puts a value on your health. Again, back to the thing about humans being a commodity or worth a specific number amount. And then you get this. What's going to happen? Well, you're going to get fired, literally, or replaced, because they don't want to invest in someone that's going to be having a heart attack in 5 years or whatever it is. And then we could get into, stuff, but we won't, about recent medical things that might add to this scenario that's coming up, where not only the AI is replacing people, but the people themselves are dying off slowly but surely. Here,
Well, they got all kind of things. Imagine when you get in your 70s or 80s, they say there's some programs now that can pretty much ping the month that you're going to pass away. So
right.
if you come back to the birth certificate, and I was speaking at a conference. This was Alternative View conference in the UK with Ian Crane back before he passed away. They were talking about the birth certificates there, and it was really, I'd heard that this was issued as a pledge against you when you're born, but they went into the whole websites that you can visit to see what kind of securities are pledged against you. And I went in to visit the website. There was like 3,000 different ones pledged against my social security number. And I came back, after the next day, and I was shocked. I go, oh my gosh, I can't believe I had 3,000. And I know, man, that's nothing. These new kids today like 12,000. Different kind of bonds issued against you that are rehypothecated and derivatized and then sent out. And as it spins through, and like all these banks that own these bonds issued against your labor, because $1 of your earnings can be then, just like they do in a bank, where they'll take it in and they'll hold, 10% collateral against that and then loan out the other 90%. Well, they're doing this through your average earning capacity based on the family you were born into. And as you increase or decrease your earnings, they can also increase or decrease the bonds that are issued against you through your entire lifetime. So let's say you start off as somebody who was born into a middle-class family. All right, they know because of the norms and the values of your parents that you're generally going to make $100,000 a year at some corporate job, because you're going to go to university, because that's what everybody in your family did. So they've already pegged you down. You're going to be a university graduate. You're going to make $100,000 a year. So right then they can issue that much against off your future earnings on an average basis. But if you get into the corporate world and you excel and you start to earn $500,000, $1 million, $5 million, at that point, the amount of bonds issued against you can also increase based on the productivity that you're having in society. And it decreases as well. And I'm just wondering, when it decreases the point of non-value, if that somehow an accident happens to you, or a sickness becomes you. I mean, is there really that much control on the world where things can be set, reset, taken, given, to the point where the value on your transactions across the planet on a financial system comes to some break-even point where you go negative and they're like, that's a loss, we need to remove it, like you would any other bad asset on a set of books? I'm just wondering what level we're sitting at in our world now with technology. Just saying, I was going to throw that out there because I was trying to, say something with your birth certificate. I remembered I was going to say that, and that's, for some reason that clicked. Nuclear missiles, blah, 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 blah. I mean, nuclear. Give me something else. Slide. Don't believe the hype. They've been feeding us this same fear through my parents. Remember hiding under the desk. If the nuclear weapon goes off in school, you're going to have to hide under the desk. The glass is going to get blown away and cars are going flying, but you'll be okay under the desk. They've been playing that same scenario bullshit playbook for 60 plus years. And now, we're still, there's nuclear weapons. Oh, it's nuclear capable weapon. They said the same thing in the 50s.
No, these
in
are
the 60s,
invincible,
in the 70s,
man.
in the 80s, in the 90s. And the Cold War ended. And the Gorbachev, the wall fell. It's again. No, it's a rogue state. No, now it's nuclear. No, now it's Russia again. No, it's China. It was a terrorist then for a minute. Sideline, throw in the terrorists. Break. Okay, back to Russia.
Right. You need to duck and cover because, of course, that
You got to tell me,
blanket
80
table.
years they've been blowing the same smoke.
This is
Don't believe
new,
it.
man. Come on, man. These are
Come on,
invincible.
I'm not a doomer. I'm a realist.
They used to say that, we can't stop the missiles. Now they're telling it, you know what? You can't stop the missiles. So, yeah, they kind of changed it to the other end of it. But here's really where they're going. What's this?
Where's my big button?
Why is China doing this?
China launches synthetic human embryos into space station, along with the data centers in space running on solar activity, unlimited power.
They want to go.
You really
to
have
space
to wonder
too.
how many satellites are up there. There was this one movie called Geostorm.
Yeah.
Do you remember that movie where all the satellites were linked together in a continuous grid around the entire circumference of the planet? They weren't free floating like we think satellites just like free float around. And I'm wondering how close to truth that really is.
I really think that, judging by Musk, him specifically, um, and I said this before, it seems like he purposely designed disposable satellites and a way to get more up, like 20, 30 at a time. So when, not if, but when we have some kind of activity from the sun that really puts the continuity of nations at risk, he's going to just pop those things right up in the sky right afterwards. And some of them will have survived some of the data centers and things like that. China will have data centers. So what will happen is immediately the only two tech nations able to control things will re-implement their tokenized system on everyone because everybody's going to want to take part in the reboot. So there's going to be a time period where people are without, because if they don't give them that, then they won't cry for the answer at the end. And the answer is hey, we can put it all back up. We just need, everything you have. And that's at the point that you'll say, oh, wow, they really did mean own nothing and be happy. It's because, there's not going to be property recognized at that point. What will happen is nation states will just carve up all the resources available and make new lines and make new values and all of that. And if you want to participate and you want to eat and you want to live in one of the houses without being, raided by bandits running around out there, then you'll have to be part of the system. They're going to make it where it's a no choice option.
The Bitcoin citadels. Yeah, one thing too is, again, they've sent us down like a dead end road looking at this. So right now, when you think data centers and the complexity of all capital and assets on the world being transmitted and transferred in real time and swapped between currencies in a one world system, they have you believe that's terrestrial, where that is happening from one cable to the next cable, one data center across an ocean cable to the next data center. Where in actuality, a lot of this is being broadcast to satellites and sent over and then down again. That's how they're able to get such speed with this. Now, the atomic settlements as well, it's not just me sending a signal up and that same signal is beaming over and then the same signal is going down. Atomic settlements, they have multiples verifying transactions all at the same time. That's how they're able to do it so fast. There's no one validator that needs to validate, back check, validate again that the number, like if you do a single validation and a single validator, it takes quite some time. I mean, not really time. And comparatively to days, we're talking, minutes, 15, 20 minutes. That's why originally the Bitcoin transactions were so slow. It was like single validator. But with atomic settlements, you're having everybody cross swap the information for validation at the exact same time. Now, how can we do that? We'd have to use satellites to broadcast to be able to do that. Because to send it down what you consider cables right now, even the lightning fastest cables to get across to the other side of the planet and have all those information flow into one single node to confirm on that. I mean, the only way that's going to really be possible is to use satellite communications with it. So don't believe that it's just one single point. It's going from one data center across the fiber optic cable to the next one, or transmission line of sight like they did in Chicago. They built the buildings closer because that 16th of a second delayed them to be able to get the algorithm. So they actually bought an entirely new building and set up antennas for line of sight closer so they wouldn't have that 16th of a second lag. That's what it was 15 or 20 years ago. Think where they are now. Think where they are now. We're not using cables and things. We're straight up satellite now. So perhaps there's enough satellites in orbit now that allows this atomic swap transaction to occur in real time over our heads, not terrestrially. See, they got us stuck on the planet. They don't want you looking overhead. They don't want you understanding how much communication and what the interconnectivity of hundreds of thousands of satellites over our head is.
Yeah, I don't think they do either. And I go out there each night and watch these things.
Oh, it's crazy how many there are now.
Crazy. And here's a little short prediction of mine for how this fall and winter's going to go. At some point this summer or early in the fall, Russia is going to shut off the tap to Europe. And now that everything is in such a situation because of the Middle East, you're going to see a lot of people freezing in Europe. And why? Because their governments set this up to be a horrible scenario when it happened. All the governments of Europe knew that they were buying a big portion of their natural gas and petroleum from Russia. So whenever they started this big tissy over Ukraine, they knew that eventually their energy was going to be cut. So you have to wonder, if the United States is indeed an ally to NATO, why would we go in and strike Iran to totally turn the entire world's supply chain into turmoil right before everyone's about to make their move on new land? So you got Russia trying to expand into Europe, you got China trying to expand out into the Pacific, you got the US expanding into the Americas. That's the Trilateral Commission right there.
Yeah, I would say one other thing. Now, the EU is just implementing an exit tax as of this week. So think about that's already going to be fully operational by the time, if something were to happen later in the year. An exit tax means that if you want to leave Europe, you have to. They're making it steep, like 30 to 40% of your assets you have to give back in tax to the EU if you want to leave. So that's just another way to strip everybody's wealth, because the wealthiest will figure that's worth it. I can make more money in another place. I'm always able to make money. I can just make it again. We'll get me and my family to a safe place. It costs 40% of all the wealth we have, but you know what? It's better to be alive with 60% of something than dead with 0% of something. And it's just really interesting how the exit tax is now, that was off a Zero Hedge article just yesterday, how the exit taxes are now coming into fruition. And they also want to start some, non-realized gains taxes at the same time, where let's say you bought a house and it was $100,000 when you bought it, $500,000 when you bought it, whatever, and it went up 50%, and you're sitting on $150,000, you're sitting on $750,000 house. They want to tax you now on the extra, even though you didn't sell the house yet. They want to tax you on that gain every single year. So this is another thing that's coming to the EU. They're trying that up in Germany right now. So all these extra taxes to steal your money and wealth, if they make it so atrocious that you will pay anything to get out of there, think about how much they can extort out of the European citizens that just will leave. And where will they go? They're still going to be in the same system when they go somewhere else on the planet. I mean, you think Europeans are going to move down to Indonesia? Well, they're going to get stuck in that trap down there too. And I was listening to Jim Willie, and he goes, how do you leave Costa Rica with $1 million? You move there with $3 million. So wherever you go, even if you think these rosy little places like Costa Rica is going to be awesome, it's like corrupt. This is all the day is long down there too. Like they're going to make it so atrocious wherever you live. So get ready for that. The inflation is going to get so incredible. It's going to make your head spin here coming up in the summer. Like Ransom, what do you think? $7 diesel? No, it'll be $7 gas, $8.50 diesel, $9 diesel. Like, how do you think our economy would be affected
I think,
by that?
I don't know, man. I think that they will play games to keep it down around, let's say, I'm going to judge it from where I'm at, which is it's pushing to 5 right now. So at least to 6 by the time fall comes for where I'm at. So at places that it's already $7-8, you're looking at $10. And then what are we going to have? $8 a gallon of milk? Oh, wait, we already have that. So milk and gasoline are real close to the same value.
What if it's
right
$12
now.
milk?
Time to get you some milk powder.
You know what I mean? Like that's really unaffordable for most people. So they're going to ask for assistance, and there the government will already have some program to roll out to be able to help and assist people for food costs.
Yeah, but without the beef.
But again, your first foray into universal basic income comes this summer when prices get too high for you to afford regular food. Now, again, will they, like hard knuckle you, or they'll probably give it away for free to entice everybody in?
I think they have loads of filler foods ready to help the homeless. Loads of GMO grain, boxes of the stuff. Nothing to actually, give nutrition.
It'll fill your belly though.
You'll be happy to have your gruel.
You might as well get your seeds ready right now and get ready to plant, because get your wild foraging books ready. Know your neighbors, know your farmers, know where the fruit trees are, and learn how to plant your food and get some veggies in the ground right now, along with flowers that you can turn into medicinal teas. Herbs that you can dry that could be tradables for other, because everybody cooks. You want some culinary herbs that can be dried, stored, and traded. So think about that as you move through the week as like an action item. Also, buymeacoffee.com/civilization cycle. Support us over there if you like this type of content. And also civilizationcycle.com, the website. We got the player up there for the shows. Drop your email in there. We'll get you the show notes out. 10 bullet points of tonight's conversation. But if you take anything away from tonight, just put it in, just frame it up correctly here. Prices are going to continue to increase. They're really going to start running away here in the summertime. So different ways to protect yourself from that is how to do that Rubik's Cube. There's a few still available to us right now that could make it less painful. But as we move down the road, you're going to have to learn how to bulk cook, store things. It's just going to be a different way of life, and you're going to spend a lot more time cooking in the kitchen than this on-demand microwave meal culture we've been in. We're gonna roll the clock back in terms of how we prepare food, which rolls. You're gonna spend more time, so you're gonna have to rebudget your time too. Time budgeting is going to be a skill to learn too.
I was gonna say, just relearn how to, basically eat raw foods. I mean, like right now outside, I have potatoes, onions, chilies, tomatoes, squash, all that kind of stuff growing. It's not ready yet, but here soon it's going to be popping out food. I already see chilies on the flowers. And most of that stuff, like I said, you could throw it in salsa. You could do whatever you want with it. The potatoes kind of have to be cooked, obviously. But all that other stuff is just stuff that you can keep going outside, gathering a little bit, depending on the size of your family, just for meals, literally right off the plant. That's the way I did it last year too. I go out, get a couple tomatoes, a couple chilies, a little bit of onions. I have walking onions everywhere. So that's something that you don't really have to wait on, because it's good whenever in the spring it's real soft, the blades come up, and then later you get these little bundles of really garlicky tasting onions on the tip of it. And if you don't want to do nothing with it, it just flips over, it plants itself again, and it keeps going. It's kind of self-sustaining as long as you give it water. People are going to have to get used to being able to just go outside to the refrigerator outside. I mean, think about how fresh that is. People are always wanting fresh to the table food. Well, it's not. They picked it at a farm, it got on a truck, it went through a conveyor belt, got sprayed with all kinds of stuff, it went through another truck, went to your grocery store, got sprayed with more stuff, and then they put it out on the shelf there for you to eat. It's already almost rotten
in plastic.
Yeah. It's really
one last question. How are the locusts at your place? Remember you had a lot of grasshoppers there last time.
Yeah, I think the birds, they took care of that. I really haven't been seeing much of them anymore. Now it's wasps.
Now it's wasps. Hey, by the way, wasps are pretty gentle. If you don't bother them, they don't bother you pretty much. The only time I've ever been stung by wasps is if I actually touched them somehow or got, brushed against them. Yellow jackets are a different story. They sniff you half a mile away and they're coming after you,
I got me an executioner. It's like a tennis racket thing, and
those are awesome.
You just kind of touch them, they're dead. And I leave them alone, except for I have a bunch of hummingbird feeders, so they're all attracted to that. And I'm not trying to kill them all off, but reduce the numbers and make it where they remember the ones that get away don't go back over there.
You'll learn, you rat bastards. You wasp bastards. Until next week, thanks for your time. Hope you got something out of our broadcast. And the world's yours. The oyster is open, so take advantage of all these giant opportunities in front of us because of the giant amount of change